सभी को नमस्कार और इस संबी शो में आप सबका स्वागत है। वेलकम यू ऑल टू द संबी शो। टुडे वी आर डाइविंग deep into one of the most critical aspects of Indian democracy, that is the conflict between the judiciary and the executive. Often we find in the newspaper, every day we find a news on the newspaper that is a conflict between the judiciary and the executive of our country. Often we see a conflict between the laws which are being implemented by the executive and the decisions the judiciary taken on that. There is a conflict between the judiciary and the executive, and we can say the struggle for power has shaped our political landscape, our political vision, and I can say it has impacted our governance also, and it influenced the lives of millions of our country. So in today's episode, we will give you the historical background of the conflict between judiciary and executive in our country since independence. So stay tuned. We explore the separation of powers, the historical background, and the key conflict and the implications in our country. We will give you all the details, all the authentic informations regarding this topic, and at the end of this episode, you will find very new and some unknown fact about it. We have three organs in our state. The one is legislative, judiciary, and executive. The concept of separation of powers is fundamental to the functioning of a democratic state, and it ensures that the powers of governance are divided among the three branches: the executive, the legislative, the judiciary. And this division is designed to provide a system of checks and balance. And we can say in preventing any single branch from becoming too powerful. In India, the principle is enshrined in our constitution. And we can say the constitution is the supreme law of the land. Nothing above the constitution of India. The supreme law of the land. The legislature makes the law, the executive implements the law, and the judiciary interprets them. However, we can say this division often leads to friction, especially between the judiciary and the executive. Now we are discussing one of the earliest case. We can say it was one of the first conflict between the judiciary and executive in India. The Shankari Prasad case, that was, we can back to 1951. This was one of the earliest significant case that involving a conflict between the two organs of the state, that is the judiciary and executive. And in this case, the Supreme Court upheld the first amendment to the constitution, which curtailed the right to property to implement the land reforms. This case highlighted the tension between the need for the social reform and the protection of fundamental rights. And that conflict, we can say, one of the earliest conflict that ever India has seen. Now we are coming to the second case, and it was happening in the year 1967. The name of the case was Golaknath case. In this landmark case, the Supreme Court ruled that the Parliament could not amend the fundamental rights that is enshrined in the Constitution of India. And this decision was seen as a major assertion of judicial independence and a significant check on the executive power to alter the constitution. Often we see the parliament makes law and the executive when try to violate the laws which are made by the parliament, and at that time the judiciary at that moment declares them null and void. And in this way, the judiciary maintain the balance and the checks and balance between the three organs of the state. Now we are coming to another landmark case, and in the year 1969, during the Prime Minister of India, then Prime Minister, that is Indira Gandhi's government, they nationalized 14 major banks of India, and this case was challenged again in Supreme Court. And at that time, the Supreme Court upheld the nationalization, and whatever the report we have got, it led to the tensions between the executive and the policy making power of the judiciary. And it was one of the major case in the year 1969 by the Indira Gandhi's government. Now we are coming to the one of the most historical significant case of India, that is the Kesavananda Bharati case of 1973. One of the most important case in the Indian history, in Indian politics. This landmark case saw the Supreme Court asserts its power to review and strike down the constitutional amendments that violates the basic structure of the constitution. And this was a direct challenge to the executive authority by the Supreme Court. In the year 2015, we have seen another issue, that is the National Judicial Appointment Commission, NJAC Act. The Supreme Court struck down the National Judicial Appointment Commission, that is the NJAC Act, which sought to change the process of appointment of judges. In that case, this was another significant clash with the judiciary between the executive. And in this case, the judiciary emphasizing its independence from the executive influence. Understand why this conflict occurs. If we try to go deep inside this issue, we need to go deeper into the separation of powers. Already we have seen that the state has three organs. One is the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. The legislature comprises of elected representatives who make laws in India. And we can say this is the Parliament of India. And the executive are those who implement and enforce those laws made by the legislature. In India, this includes the President, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. And the judiciary, which interprets this law and ensures justice. And we know that the justice is the epitome of a civilized society. Without justice, we cannot expect anything from the government. Just we want justice from the government. And judiciary always help us in getting the justice and protects our right in India. This is the Supreme Court and the various high courts, that the judiciary independence is crucial for maintaining the rule of law. It acts as a guardian of the constitution and ensuring that the executive and legislature do not overstep the laws, the grounds and the basic idea for country. Now I am giving an example of very recent times. We have seen a issue that is often coming in media, newspaper, that is the electoral bond case. So first let me allow to ensure you and help you in get what is the electoral bonds. The electoral bonds case revolves around a new system in India for funding the political parties, and we will discuss how it was and why it is controversial. So first, let us know what are the electoral bonds. Electoral bonds are a type of financial instrument introduced by the Government of India in the year 2018. In 2018, the Government of India introduced for the first time these bonds, and they allow the individuals, companies and organizations to donate money to political parties, and the bonds can be purchased from the designated banks and then given to a political party, and they can convert them into cash, which help them in fighting the elections. Why it become controversial? The electoral bond, I can say it is a lack of transparency. Critics argue that the electoral bonds hide the identity of donors, leading to a lack of transparency in political funding and influence of corporates. That is, they are concerned that the big corporations could use them and they can use these bonds to influence the political party decisions without the public scrutiny. Because in democracy, the real power is in the hand of public. They cast their vote to decide their government, their vision, their future of the land where they live. The conflict between the judiciary and the executive, in this case, revolves around the transparency, accountability, and the rule of the law. The Supreme Court of India, in this case, has raised questions about the transparency of electoral bonds. The judiciary is concerned that the system might undermine the fair elections and allow unchecked money flow into the politics. Because we know that the election should be free and fair in our country. Because we cast our vote to shape our future. That is the main essence of a democratic country. If the Supreme Court allows this system, we can say that there is a influence of money, so there will be no democracy, no rule of law. That is the main essence. To respect the constitution, the Supreme Court has raised the voice and taken very necessary action in this case. We can say the judiciary and the executive are the two pillars of our democracy, and their conflict, while often challenging, is necessary for maintaining a balance of power. Understanding these dynamics, it helps us appreciate the complexities of our governance and importance of protecting our constitutional value. Because at the end, we need justice, and our main motto to protect the rule of law. That is the main essence of our country. Cast your vote, and before taking any decision, go through the detailed history of our country. Because history and geography are the two eyes of a civilization. Without knowing the history, one cannot take any decisions. We should aware about our right, about our law, so we will shape our country in a very effective way. Thanks for watching this show. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel. For more depth in any topic, for more depth analysis on crucial topics, please watch our channel. See you in next video. Thank you. Jai Hind.